Shocking plan. My granddaughter's words unlocked a devastating family secret at midnight. The clock struck midnight with a final, piercing chime, echoing like a gunshot through the dimly lit house. In those eerie seconds, a chilling silence enveloped the room. That's when Lisa, only 10 years old but with an uncanny ability to read the emotions of those around her, spoke up. Her innocent words were the last piece of a terrifying puzzle that had haunted our family for generations. "Grandpa, why is there a locked box in the attic?" she asked, her wide eyes glimmering with curiosity. Shockwaves rippled through me. I felt my heart racing, pounding against my chest like a wild animal trying to break free. It wasn't just any box. The old, rusty relic had been hidden away, covered in cobwebs and dust, a family heirloom shrouded in whispers. Grandma used to say it contained secrets too dangerous to touch. But Lisa didn't know that yet. I tried to shake off the creeping dread tightening my throat, but the weight of the past pressed down hard. Memories of hushed conversations and fearful glances flooded my mind. There was a night when my brother slipped out to the attic, and Dad's frantic voice followed. "Stay away from there," he yelled, panic lacing his words. Why hadn't I listened? Why didn't I dig deeper back then? "It's just an old box, right?" I murmured to myself. Yet, something clawed at my insides, a fear deeper than any horror movie could stir. The thought of what might be inside loomed like a black cloud. "Are you okay, Grandpa?" Lisa's voice snapped me back to reality. I could see her concern reflected in her soft, innocent features. My chest tightened, a lump forming as the realization hit me. This was going to change everything. In that moment, as the midnight air hung heavy with secrets waiting to be unveiled, the past whispered its threats. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. My mind raced back to my grandmother's cautionary tales about our family's past, stories I had brushed off as fairy tales, remnants of superstition. But Lisa's question stirred something long buried, a sense of urgency. "We need to figure this out," I finally said, the determination in my voice surprising even myself. The thrill of revelation hung in the air, electric. As we moved towards the attic door, the creaking wood beneath my feet felt like an ominous warning. Would we uncover the truth, or would the secrets buried within the box lead us to devastation we weren't prepared to face? Only time would tell. My heart raced as the lights flickered. The attic door loomed in front of us, thick with the dust of forgotten memories. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the doorknob, a swirl of emotions battling within me: fear, curiosity, and the desperate need to protect Lisa from whatever darkness we were about to unveil. The air felt thick, suffocating, as if the walls were alive, pressing in on us. "Grandpa, are we going in?" Lisa's voice was barely above a whisper, yet it rang loud in the stillness that surrounded us. Her innocent eagerness cut through the tension like a knife, and I forced a nod. With a shaky breath, I twisted the knob. The door creaked open, releasing a musty wave of air that tickled my nose. As we stepped inside, the beam of our flashlight cut through the gloom, illuminating the attic's cluttered chaos: old toys, forgotten furniture, and shadows that danced like ghosts on the walls. But all I could see was that box, sitting in the corner, an ominous monolith drawing us toward it. As we approached, the dull, metallic clink of Lisa's little sneakers against the floorboards echoed in the silence. My heart raced like a freight train. The closer we got, the heavier the air became, laden with apprehension. What if it's just junk? I tried to reassure myself, though a nagging thought whispered that junk isn't always just junk. Lisa gazed at me, her wide eyes filled with an unfiltered blend of excitement and fear. "Are we really going to open it?" she asked, a tremor in her voice. I swallowed hard. "We have to, Lisa. We need to know what's in there. She nodded, though a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. I kneeled down in front of the box. Its surface was scratched and worn, the rusted latch corroded and defiant. I felt drawn to it, yet repulsed. What had my family buried inside? With trembling hands, I tugged at the latch. It fought back, stuck after years of neglect. Taking a moment, I steeled my resolve and pulled harder. The metal clicked open with a gritty protest that sounded like a scream in the silence. The lid creaked as I lifted it, revealing a jumble of papers, old photographs, and what looked like a small, neatly folded cloth. I squinted, trying to make sense of the chaos inside. Then, a slip of yellowed paper caught my eye, and I reached in to grab it. My hand shook as I unfolded it, exposing a horrific family tree scrawled in an unsteady hand. At the bottom, a name jolted me, a name I never wanted to see again, but as I read those fateful words, an awful realization dawned on me. This family tree didn't just connect us, it marked the beginning of a curse, a legacy of pain and betrayal. "What is it, Grandpa?" Lisa asked, peering over my shoulder, her voice tremulous. I felt the blood drain from my face. "No. It can't be," I whispered, disbelief coursing through my veins. The shadows around us seemed to sharpen, as if waiting for my response to turn the tide toward darkness. What I uncovered was not just history, it was a warning. As my eyes darted to the next page, the shattering truth sank in. It wasn't just the past we had unearthed. It was a prophecy, a harbinger of what was to come, tinged with the weight of inevitable doom. Before I could fully process the implications, the attic window shattered, sending glass scattering like the remnants of our peace. My heart stopped. Had we awakened something that should have remained buried? Lisa shrieked, clutching my arm. "Grandpa, what's happening?" Panic rose within me, but there was no time for reassurance. All I could do was clutch the papers tightly, the ink almost buzzing with a life of its own. We were no longer just seeking answers, we had become part of a dangerous game that had begun long before our time. As the wind howled around us, that one question echoed in my mind: were we prepared to face the ultimate truth, whatever it may reveal? The attic felt like a cage, and something sinister lurked just outside, waiting for us to take the next step. The wind howled like a banshee outside, slapping rain against the roof. Each gust rattled the attic's window frame, adding to the chaos of shattered glass scattered about us. My heart pounded louder than the storm, a frantic drumbeat echoing against the walls as I clutched the papers. "Grandpa, we need to go." Lisa's voice trembled, pulling me back from the edge of my spiraling thoughts. Her fearful eyes darted to the gaping window, shadows twisting and morphing in the flickering beam of our flashlight. "We can't just leave, Lisa. We have to understand what we're dealing with." My voice sounded foreign to me, tense and desperate. But deep down, I questioned whether uncovering this truth was worth the cost, the weight of generations pressing down upon us. Earlier, curiosity had felt like a gentle nudge, now it was a reckless shove toward the abyss. I glanced again at the family tree, my breath hitching in my throat. Each name seemed to pulse, alive with stories of grief and shadow, binding us to a past I'd hoped was long buried. Before I could fully absorb the implications, a noise shattered the silence. The creaking of floorboards beneath us. "Did you hear that?" Lisa whispered, her small voice pierced by fear. The hairs on the back of my neck stood tall as I strained to listen. Another creak, this one heavier, closer. It was a sound that didn't belong in the attic. My instincts screamed that we weren't alone. "Stay close to me," I urged, my fingers tightening around her small hand. Fear and adrenaline coursed through my veins, spurring me to advance deeper into the gloom. My flashlight wavered, illuminating the remnants of the past: a pile of old toys, dusty books, and a grand piano cloaked in shadows. "Grandpa." Lisa's grip tightened in panic as she pointed deeper into the attic. My heart sank. An unnatural movement, almost a ripple in the air, caught my eye. The shadows seemed to swirl around a taut string tethered to a forgotten toy carousel. "Look," I ordered breathlessly, and before I could cease my urge to explore, I crouched low, moving toward it. The thought of secrets hiding behind those disheveled memories enticed me even further. As I approached, the carousel twitched again, seemingly alive, and for a brief moment, I considered it to be just my mind playing tricks. But then, the wooden horse positioned at the front, its once vibrant paint now flaking, appeared to move, almost as if a breath of life was being breathed into it. A chill settled deep in my bones. I reached out, fingers trembling with hesitation. Just as I was about to touch it, a sudden loud crash behind us made me whirl around. The attic door slammed shut with a sickening finality, locking us in. "Grandpa! We need to get out!" Lisa screamed, her voice shrill as panic heightened. She tugged at the door, but it wouldn't budge. A whisper, barely audible, curled around us like smoke. "It's too late." Frozen, my heart raced as the very shadows we feared began to coalesce, whispering secrets of the past. Each breath was heavier than the last, as if we were closing in on a truth that might consume us. "Who's there?" I called, trying to maintain a sense of bravado, though my voice quivered with uncertainty. The whispers rose, turning into frenzied voices, echoes of pain, betrayal, and despair. Each syllable pierced through the attic's stale air, each word a thread connecting us not just to our history, but to something else entirely. Just when the tension peaked, the carousel began to spin slowly, the haunting melody of a forgotten childhood filling the attic like an echo of things long gone, and I realized, it was not just the storm outside that threatened to break us. "Listen!" Lisa cried, but I couldn't. The voices grew louder, an all-consuming tempest swirling around us. Would we succumb to this family curse or find a way to fight back? As I clutched Lisa's hand tighter, one question reverberated: what did it all mean, and who was truly in control, the living, or the haunting shadows grasping at our throat? I needed answers, and my heart raced as I wondered just how far I'd go to uncover the terrifying truth. The cacophony of voices swelled, swirling around us like a tempest fueled by anguish. I could hardly grasp the words, but their tone was unmistakable, accusatory, desperate, longing. Lisa's eyes darted from shadow to shadow, searching for something, someone. "Grandpa, we have to get out of here!" She shrieked again, her small frame trembling under the weight of unseen pressure. "Don't you feel it?" I whispered, my voice barely audible over the din. I still felt that strange connection to the carousel. It was almost as if it were a gateway, a link between us and whatever lingered in the gloom. "Feel what?" Lisa asked, half incredulous, half terror-stricken. "Something is," but my thoughts crashed and tumbled like waves against rocks as I sensed a shift in the air, a sudden clarity amidst the chaos. The shadowy figures began to take form, and a sense of dread gnawed at my gut. What was lurking behind them? The carousel's melody twisted into an eerie lullaby, wrapping around us like thorned vines. Each twirl of the painted horse echoed the stories of our ancestors, their love, their sorrow, their mistakes. Then, in an instant, everything changed. The once faint whispers turned to a cacophony of screams, shrills of mourning that clawed at the edges of my sanity. "Listen to us!" The voices harmonized, an unsettling chorus that seemed to shake the attic's very foundations. "We are not at peace." "Who are you?" I shouted into the gloom, the fear clawing at my insides. "What do you want from us?" In response, a figure stirred in the corner, emerging from the shadows. My breath caught as I recognized a silhouette too familiar, yet wrapped in a veil of sorrow. It was a face that had been etched in my heart for decades, a ghost of my past, and one I thought I could leave behind. "Maggie?" My voice fractured as I took a tentative step forward. The figure laughed, an empty sound that echoed in the hollow space. "You thought you could escape the truth, didn't you? But it clings to your blood, just as it clung to mine." As the identity of the shadowy figure sank in, the memories came flooding back: misunderstandings, heartbreak, the grim decision that had torn our family apart. I felt a wave of grief and guilt wash over me. The whispers returned, this time more coherent, assembling a narrative that dredged up the most painful pieces of our history. Each word unraveled a thread in the tapestry of my family's past, exposing the horrors we buried and the choices that had directed us down this cursed path. "Stop it!" I yelled, but the voices only grew louder. "This can't be happening. Grandpa!" Lisa pleaded, her small hand still firmly clasped in mine. Make it stop. Please. In that moment, the attic shuddered, the shadows freezing as if they were considering our plea. I knew we had to act. Tell me how to help you. I shouted, my voice shaking with desperation. And then I saw it a flicker in the air, a swirling vortex forming above the carousel. The toy spun faster, the melody growing louder until it reached a fever pitch that felt like it might tear the roof off. A flash of insight hit me. The carousel wasn't just a relic, it was a prison for these lost souls, and with each spin, it drew in our fear, our regret, the very thing that bound us to them. We have to set them free. I shouted, glancing at Lisa, who looked at me with wide, terrified eyes. But before she could respond, the shadows surged forward, and I felt them envelop me, their sorrow washing over my skin like ice. My heart raced as another echo broke through my name, spoken in a chilling resonance. Unlock the truth. Panic gripped me as I turned to Lisa, a wild determination propelling me forward. I needed to tap into the very reason we were up here. I had to unearth the family legacy we scorned, even if it meant confronting the past I had tried so hard to avoid. I reached toward the carousel, ready to uncover the next piece of our family's secret, when suddenly the attic quaked more violently, and the lights flickered, plunging us into darkness. With a jolt, I knew I was on the brink of something monumental. What had we awakened? And would the truth bind us together or tear us apart forever? As silence enveloped us, I realized one thing: above all, this was only the beginning. The darkness pressed in around us, heavier than before, thick with an emotional weight that made it hard to breathe. I felt my chest tighten, squeezing the air from my lungs. Lisa squeezed my hand tighter, her small fingers like a vice against my palm. The shadows pulsed, alive and menacing, a silent warning that whatever lay ahead was not what we had hoped for. Grandpa. She whimpered, her voice barely more than a whisper. I turned to her, heart aching at the fear in her eyes. What do we do? I forced my voice to hold steadiness, despite the turmoil inside. We need to confront them. Whatever this is, whatever they want, we can face it together. The silence shattered with the carousel's music, twisting once more into that haunting melody. It beckoned us, and I felt an irresistible pull to step closer. The painted horses began to move, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light, as if they were alive, urging us to dance within their cursed circle. The shadows swirled around, revealing glimpses of faces twisted in grief, horror, and longing. Maggie, I called, my voice echoing against the wooden beams. Why are you here? What do you want from us? The laughter returned, sharp and harsh. What do you think, dear? You've danced around the truth for far too long. Your past is buried, but it wants to be unearthed. It will consume you if you don't. We are the key, and we have come to collect what is due. The key? What do you mean? The air thickened with tension. My heart thudded against my ribs like a drum, drowning out the carousel song. Maggie, listen. I could barely catch my breath, each word a strain as I pushed against the darkness. Tell me how we can help you. Help us. And then it happened. The carousel began to spin faster, shadows pouring from the edges, swirling and curling like smoke. I realized then, the memories were not just remnants of the past, they were alive. They were desperate for release. Suddenly, the lights blazed back to life, illuminating the attic in a sickly green hue. The shadows flared, shaping themselves into a wall of ominous figures around us. A chorus of whispers erupted, louder than before, their words striking me like arrows. Revive the truth and face the consequence. Revive the truth, I repeated, letting the words echo in my mind. What truth? My pulse raced. This was about Maggie, but it was also about everything that followed her, our family's darkest moments woven in a tapestry of regret and pain. Grandpa, what does it mean? Lisa's voice trembled as she clung to me, her innocent eyes wide with confusion and terror. Maybe it means we have to acknowledge it. My voice was steadying, a flicker of resolve igniting within. Face the pain. We have to remember. As I stepped forward, the shadows roared, demanding our retreat, fueled by rage and sorrow. I could feel their history pressing into my mind, the lost dreams and buried truths. But behind it all lay something deeper, a longing that mirrored our own frustrations and fears. "Show me," I said, my voice a whisper but my resolve unwavering. "Show me everything." In response, one of the swirling shadows broke free, morphing into a figure. It was a younger version of Maggie, her features twisted with grief yet softened by relief. "You have to look deeper. Only then can you set us free." My breath caught as I took another step forward, curiosity mingled with dread. "Lisa, hold on tight," I murmured, feeling the energy shift like a storm on the horizon, ready to unleash everything we had buried deep within our family tree. The air crackled as the shadows shifted, and a sudden flash of memory consumed me, a moment long forgotten. A decision made in haste, a consequence rarely spoken aloud. "Find the truth," Maggie's figure implored, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "And you can save us, but beware what you uncover. Truth can be a double-edged sword." The attic vibrated, responding to her words, flooding us with an overwhelming sensation, fear mingled with hope. With a deep breath, I reached toward the carousel, poised on the edge of discovery and catastrophe. What would we find in that swirling vortex of emotion and pain? And would the revelation bind us closer, or shatter our already fragile world? As the energy swirled faster, I braced myself for the coming storm, knowing the chains of the past were about to break and we would either emerge whole or become one with the darkness. The carousel spun wildly now, the haunting melody clawing at the edges of my sanity. In that moment, I felt the pull of history drawing me in, almost like the ride itself was alive, desperate to unveil its secrets. Shadows flickered around us like the flash of memories I couldn't quite grasp, slipping just out of reach. "Grandpa." Lisa's voice pierced through the cacophony. Her tiny grip remained as fierce as iron, grounding me amidst the chaos. It was a reminder of what was at stake: her safety, her innocence. I couldn't let the shadows consume us. "Stay close, Lisa," I shouted, my heart pounding. "Whatever happens, we face it together." I realized how unprepared I was, yet I was ready to unravel the bindings of our past. Maggie's ethereal figure seemed to pulsate with urgency. "Look deeper," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper, lost in the symphony of the carousel. "You must confront the hidden pains, or they will be the end of you." "Show me," I shouted above the tumult. The shadows writhed and twisted. For the first time, I felt their sorrow, not just their rage. It dawned on me, this was a family trapped in their own pain, a cycle of torment unbroken. The room began to freeze around us. One by one, the faces of the lost flickered more vividly. Suddenly, I recognized one, the face of my sister, Mary. The sight sent a crash of emotion over me, drawing up memories I thought long buried. The last words we exchanged, sharp and filled with unresolved arguments, echoed in my mind, slicing through the haze of fear. You were angry," I breathed, but the shadows began to twist violently, a warning that resurfacing these feelings was not without risk. "Yes," Maggie's younger visage insisted, "and it's not just anger. It's grief and regret. You must forgive each other to allow peace." Lisa stood frozen, her eyes darting between the figure and the swirling shadows. "Is that what we have to do?" Her voice trembled, heavy with confusion. "Forgive who?" The question hung in the air, thick and suffocating. I felt the weight of past decisions press upon me, making breathing a struggle. The choices I had made, the times I had turned away from pain rather than facing it, seemed to surround us now, each decision clawing for acknowledgement. "Look, Lisa," I choked out, realizing the truth could break us if we let it. "We must face our family's choices, my choices, and make them right. It's the only way to end this." With a deep breath, I stepped closer to the carousel, feeling the storm of shadows tightening around my lungs. "I'm sorry," Mary the first whispered, pouring my heart into the space around us, hoping my sincerity would reach her. "I should have listened. I should have fought for you." At my confession, the shadows ebbed momentarily, as if considering my sincerity. The oppressive tension shifted, morphing into something new, a flicker of hope. Almost like light trying to break through the overwhelming darkness. Face the truth. Maggie cried, urgency lacing her tone. Only then will the past forgive you. And at that moment, the entire attic shook. The carousel screeched, its music ascending into a haunting crescendo, drowning out our thoughts. How much could we take before everything fell apart? Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, morphing into a scene of idle, forgotten memory. I watched, horrified, as a younger version of myself stood in a room, a screaming match with Mary erupting around us. Don't you dare leave, my younger self shouted, raw with anger. In that instant, I felt the walls of resentment closing in on my heart. I had thought I was the victim, I had never seen how I hurt her too. Tears streamed down my face as recognition tore through me. No, it can't end like this. Look. Lisa screamed, pointing at the vision before us. You have to go to her. But as I watched, the vision faded. The figures dissolved back into shadow. Panic clawed at my throat. The truth hung just out of reach, mocking me as the darkness roared. As I fought to remember the moment in its entirety, I felt the grip of shadows tightening, a desperate attempt to reclaim what they had lost. Just then, the ground trembled beneath our feet, fracturing the wooden floorboards, opening a portal of deep, swirling darkness below. It's happening! I yelled, holding on to Lisa, my heart racing. This is the moment. We can't run from the truth. But as I looked down into the abyss, I knew something inside me was ready to break. The past was clawing its way out, demanding to be heard whether I was ready or not. And as the shadows roared around us, I couldn't help but wonder, would confronting our family's darkest moments unleash something worse than we could ever imagine? The carousel's momentum began to slow, something was shifting, and I felt the question settle in the air, weighty and ominous. What would be unleashed if we faced our demons? The abyss below spilled a void of darkness, teeming with whispers that seemed to echo the pain of generations. Strands of memories flickered like lightning, and suddenly, I saw her again. Mary stood there, a ghost caught between time, her expression twisted in anguish. I could feel the vibrations of our last argument reverberating through the air, every word a dagger. It was clear the shadows were feeding off my torment, willing me to step over the edge into their grasp. Panic twisted my stomach into knots as I realized we were running out of time, out of chances. Grandpa, please. Lisa's voice pulled me back, shaking my resolve. Her small hand squeezed mine tighter, holding me tethered amidst the swirling chaos. You have to go to her. You can't let her fade away. How could I anchor myself to the past? Fear coursed through me, fear of facing the truth, fear of awakening demons I had buried beneath years of denial. But deep down, I felt the flicker of something else: hope. Could it really be possible that this confrontation could bring about a fragile peace? Hold on tight, I shouted, and with every ounce of courage, I took a step towards the looming shadows, my heart racing. Mary! I need you to hear me. The words hung in the air, as the shadows paused, their movements waiting, anticipating. In that heartbeat, the overwhelming music of the carousel transformed into a lighter, more bittersweet melody. The shadows seemed smaller, less intimidating. I took another shaky step forward. I never wanted to hurt you, I was scared. The words flowed from my lips, a flood of unburdening. For a moment, the scene shifted again. The shadows reshaped themselves into the room where we had fought. There, I saw Mary's younger self, tears streaming down her face. You don't understand. I need you, but you keep pushing me away. A wave of guilt crashed over me. How could I have been so blind? My heart ached as I witnessed my past choices, the moments I had turned from her pain, the times I had prioritized my own issues over her cries for help. I should have listened, I stammered, tears welling. You were fighting for us, but I was too lost in my fears. Suddenly, something shifted. The shadows began to scramble, swirling and distorting, caught off guard by my admission. Forgive me, Mary. I called out desperately. Forgive us both. A warmth washed over me. I felt Lisa's hand squeezing mine, anchoring my resolve. Yes. That's it, Grandpa. In that moment of vulnerability, Mary's face brightened, her features softening. I wanted so much to connect, to feel alive again, she said, her voice gentle and earnest, a stark contrast to the rage that once surrounded our final words. You must also forgive yourself. You weren't the only one broken. But in the depths of the shadows, a growl rumbled, fierce and menacing, as if this clarity threatened to unleash a wrath far more sinister. The shadows began to hiss, sensing weakness, ready to lash out and reclaim their hold. Stay strong. Maggie's voice echoed through the tumult. You're on the brink, don't lose this chance. The ground beneath us trembled and fissured deeper. I had to make a choice, retreat and slip back into silence, or stick my neck out for the chance of healing. Let go of the rage. I bellowed into the chaos, strength surging through me. Let us reclaim love over pain. As I shouted, the carousel erupted in a blinding flash of light, illuminating the shadows as they writhed, starting to dissolve. The grip of darkness loosened, but an unfamiliar sound emerged, a low growl, distinct and chilling. Go, Lisa! I screamed, my heart pounding in my chest. We have to finish this together. The shadows bellowed, and the light began to fracture. Would we tumble into the abyss, or could we wrestle the truth from the clutches of our past? As the music reached a fever pitch, I could feel that we were at the brink of revelation or destruction. The carousel slowed to a halt, and everything hung in the balance. But as I turned to embrace my granddaughter, a sudden frigid chill swept through the attic. I heard the whispers transform into frantic shouts, echoing louder with every passing second. What would happen now? And behind us loomed the mist, swirling with an urgency that hinted at a terrible reality. What would arise from the depths if we unleashed the buried past? The light from the carousel flickered, creating an ethereal glow that cut through the thick shadows. I could feel the air vibrating, a tension building that threatened to shatter the fragile moment we had just coaxed from the darkness. Their growls echoed louder, morphing into something primal, something that dripped with malice. Grandpa, we need to move. Lisa's voice was urgent, cutting through the chaos like a lifeline. But I hesitated, my heart clinging desperately to the fragile hope that was blossoming in my chest. Mary! I yelled, forcing the words out, each syllable a desperate plea. Please, stay with us. We're trying to heal. The shadows churned violently at the sound of her name, twisting and stretching as if in response to a deity's invocation. Light refracted off their forms, flickering between dimensions. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. This isn't just about me, it's about you, too. I know you're still here. You always will be. As if in answer, Mary's figure began to shift, the pain gradually receding from her face. You have to keep fighting, she murmured, her voice now clearer, resonating through the chaos. You can't allow my pain to consume you. A sudden surge of energy rippled through the room, pushing me back as the shadows twisted violently, roaring in indignation. The carousel whirled to life, its colors swirling bright against the darkness, but those shadows raged in fury, pressing in around us. Stay together! I shouted, clutching Lisa's hand tighter. We couldn't be overwhelmed by the ghosts of our past. As shadows lunged towards us, I wasn't just defending myself, I was defending Mary, and all the love that had tied our family together. Let her go. I bellowed, the words emerging from a depth I didn't know I had. You don't own her pain anymore. We're breaking the cycle. The shadows recoiled, faltering. The music, once sinister, morphed into a nostalgic tune, the notes whispering of hope as if coaxing us to remember the good amidst the turmoil. The carousel's illumination expanded, revealing the dim corners of the attic, places once clouded in neglect. Feel it, Grandpa. Lisa urged. Let the light in. With every ounce of will, I focused on Mary, on our love, and on the connection that had somehow survived decades of hurt. I envisioned a world where we could rebuild the trust that had shattered. Suddenly, the whisper stopped, silenced by an oppressive force settling over us. What is this? A voice hissed from the depths. It was the darkness, the voices of my ancestors, laden with betrayal and despair. I stepped forward, the ground trembling beneath me. This is our choice. We choose love over hate. unearths tear us apart. The shifting figures loomed larger, their forms twisting in preparation for battle. I could feel a weight, almost tangible, pressing down, a reminder of my past mistakes. But within that weight was the strength of my family, the sacrifices we had made, and it poured into my words. We will dissect our pain, learn from it, and emerge stronger, I declared with conviction, drawing energy from Lisa's steadfast resolve. In that moment, everything erupted. A violent rush of light burst forth, and the atmosphere around us crackled. The shadows writhed, but I could see their forms beginning to fracture. Time seemed to distort as past and present collided, every painful memory, every regret swirled together, and through the tempest, Mary emerged, her true essence bathed in glowing warmth. But then, a piercing scream pierced the air, sharp as glass. You can't escape your past. With that threat, the shadow surged forward, more ferocious than before, clawing for a retreat into the abyss. Fight! Lisa cried. We can't let them win. I steeled myself. Together. Yet as we braced ourselves, the reality of our situation became painfully clear. The fragile peace we had woven together was threatened anew. The shadows seemed to whisper, promising retribution, a villainous power seeping through the cracks of my resolve. Would we once again be plunged into darkness, or could we still force a light into the void? What would happen if the truth about our family's history clawed its way up through the surface, dragging our sorrows into the light? The tension in the room grew unbearable. A figure stepped forward, obscured in shadow, their voice a low thunder. You have no idea what you're uncovering. What more lay hidden in the depths of our family's past that could unravel the fragile bonds we were fighting to protect? The figure pulsed with dark energy, its shape shifting, teasing the edges of horror. Fear gripped my heart. Every instinct screamed to flee, but I couldn't abandon Lisa or Mary. The moment swirled, time nearly standing still, the music from the carousel becoming an eerie backdrop to this impending confrontation. Stop! I shouted, my voice hoarse, fighting against the cacophony of shadows. Tell us what you've hidden. We deserve the truth. The shadow figure hesitated, a flicker of recognition playing across their face. Truth? It's a weapon, not a healer. You want to unearth things best left buried. Let us decide what we can bear. Lisa cut in, her grip on my hand unwavering. We're not afraid of the past. We want to understand. Those words hung in the air, charged with defiance, almost daring the darkness to respond. The shadows stirred violently, their whispers turning to a chorus of anguished wails, as if caught in an internal struggle between revenge and revelation. You're fooling yourselves, the figure hissed, their voice twisting, weaving tales of betrayal and sorrow. You think love will save you? It merely masks the rot underneath. You are bound by blood, bound to repeat the sins of your ancestors. With each sentence, I felt the weight of our family's history bearing down on us. Shadows clamored, vying for my attention, brandishing memories like knives. But amongst the noise, Mary's voice, a cherished echo, broke through. They want you to fear the truth, she urged. Only then can they keep you from reclaiming your story. Your story is stained, the figure spat back, now towering above us, dark and inescapable. A lineage of pain. A legacy made by choices born of desperation and rage. No. I roared, the sound erupting from within me. We refuse to accept that. We choose to break the cycle. The world around us trembled, shadows buckling under the weight of my conviction. I felt Mary's presence beside me, steadying me as a warmth spread through my chest, fueling my resolve. The carousel's light brightened, illuminating the dust motes swirling in the air, remnants of the past now caught in a captivating dance. Push back. Lisa shouted. Use your love as a shield. I nodded, letting the warmth spread from my heart to my limbs. We're here to heal, to reclaim our family, not let it fall into despair. With that, I focused on the shadows, carving a path through the noise. Together with Lisa's determined heart and Mary's luminous spirit, we confronted the darkness in a unified front, like a fierce flame daring to burn bright in the night. But just as the shadows began to shrink back, the figure let out a chilling laugh, a sound that threatened my sanity. You think this is a battle? You are but children, scrambling in the dark. When the truth unravels, it will swallow you whole. And then, in an instant, they lunged forward, engulfing us in a reckless whirlwind of buried secrets, a tumultuous storm of cool air and fierce heat that snatched the breath from my lungs. "Grandpa!" Lisa cried, her voice swallowed by the chaos. As the maelstrom spun faster, reality warped. Images of events I'd pushed deep into my memory, a family torn apart by betrayal, a whispered betrayal in the dead of night came rushing forth. I saw faces, old and young, flashing before me like a horrifying kaleidoscope. My breath caught as memories I'd buried exploded back to life. It was unbearable. The darkness didn't just want our loss, it thrived on our fear, feeding on every uncertainty like a ravenous beast. Just when I thought we would be consumed, I felt a jolt, a flicker of desperation igniting a spark of defiance. "Fight. We can't back down now." The words spewed from my lips like a prayer, but even as I shouted, I could feel the looming threat of an unexpected twist so sinister it threatened to tear at my very core. What had I truly unleashed? What devastating revelation was clawing its way to the surface? The shadows and whispers wrapped around me, begging me to face the truth. And deep down, I feared the consequences that came with it. The world spun wildly around us, but in that chaos, focus honed in sharply. I could feel the echoes of my family's anguish pressing into me, each story woven into the very fabric of my being. They were begging for release. No longer did they want to be trapped within the shadows. And neither did I, Lisa. I shouted, squeezing her hand with urgency. "This is it. We're not just fighting for us, we're fighting for every wrong that came before us." Her eyes glimmered, a spark of courage igniting within them. "We can do this," she managed, her small voice steady despite the hurricane swirling around us. As the shadow figure lurched closer, its malice palpable, I stepped forward, heart racing. "You may think our past is a burden, but it's also our strength," I shouted, fear transforming into fierce determination. "We are not defined by darkness, but by how we emerge into the light." The figure snickered, but something shifted in its form. Its shadowy edges flickered and faltered for just a moment. "Foolish mortals. Love cannot conquer the scars of betrayal," it hissed, but the confidence in its tone wavered. In that instant, I remembered, love was messy. It was complicated and might even hurt. But love was also healing. It was a force powerful enough to mend the jagged pieces of our shattered legacy. "It is not love alone we call upon," I continued, glancing at Lisa and feeling her warmth. "It's our courage. Our willingness to confront what has been hidden." The attic shuddered with my words, the shadows swirling violently in resistance. We had become a beacon in this darkness, a point of light daring the shadows to retreat. Every heartache, every betrayal, everything we tried to escape surged within us. "Show them who we are, Grandpa," Lisa yelled, her voice ringing clear through the maelstrom. As if synchronized, the carousel erupted into a dazzling burst of light, illuminating the entire attic, pushing back against the shadows. I felt the warmth of memories bubbling up, memories of laughter, of shared moments, of love that bloomed amidst the wreckage. They danced through us, refusing to be silenced any longer. "Together!" I shouted, raising our intertwined hands toward the shadowy figure as if collectively channeling our ancestors' strength. "We embrace the whole story, the joy, the pain, the love and the forgiveness." The shadow figure paused, an echo of uncertainty trembling through its dark form. I could sense the anger, but also something else beneath, fear. Fear of being confronted. "Maggie!" I called out, heart pounding as I felt her presence strengthen beside us. "Help us!" The shadow screeched violently, but the carousel bathed us in light as Maggie's voice rang out, now resonating richly with the echoes of past. "Let the truth breathe, and let it heal you." The light expanded, spilling over any fragments of darkness, forcing the shadows to recoil. "Stop it!" The figure screeched, disorientation weaving through the air. But this was the moment. The moment to break the chains. Suddenly, the room exploded with memories, a child's laughter blending with the delicate sound of a lullaby, a mother's warm embrace during moments of dread, their faces washing over me like an ocean tide. Grandma, I breathed. Shivers ran down my spine at the awareness that she was still with us. Remember the light. Remember the love. Lisa shouted, her face fierce with determination. With a final fierce push, I thrust my arm forward, our voices united. We see you. We remember you. We choose to heal. The scream of the shadow figure echoed in a way that shook the walls, raw and filled with a pain deeper than I had anticipated. It lurched as if caught in a storm, torn between the past and whatever fragile future lay ahead. The shadows twisted and shrieked, the cacophony crashing against my eardrums, but together, we wouldn't yield. The shadows were mere reflections of what had been, we were alive, present, standing firm against the remnants of fear and darkness. A shimmer of light glowed brighter, radiating through the space, pushing the figure back, dissolving its hold. Then, suddenly, everything went quiet. The shadows settled into a pale mist, swirling as though surrendering the final gasp of a defeated past. A luminescent warmth enveloped us as the carousel came to a gentle halt, its music weaving into a gentle lullaby that resonated through our lingering fears. Wherever he was, I could feel Mary smiling, her essence infusing the air with warmth and peace, as if the weight of her burdens had finally lifted. The attic adorned in light felt safe, familiar. The figures of family past slowly morphed into images of joy, blissful moments painted brightly against the darkness that had tried to tear us apart. Is it over? Lisa asked, her voice small but trembling with the spark of hope unexpected in a storm-soaked night. I looked around, feeling the palpable weight lift. Yes, my love. It's over. And as the last of the shadows dissolved into nothingness, the attic became just a room again, filled with echoes of our shared laughter and memories that would stitch the frayed bonds of our lineage back together. Taking a deep breath, we stepped from the light back into the world. Let us go find a new story, I smiled down at Lisa, pulling her in close. Hand in hand, we stepped into the future no longer burdened by the weight of our past but strengthened by it. It was time to rewrite our story together, unfurling the golden threads of love that would weave through our family history. Make no mistake, this is our moment. It's time to embrace it, and now, it's your moment too. If you found this story powerful and want to hear more, you need to subscribe immediately. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, flood the comments with your reactions and theories about the ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this amazing journey with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Thank you for being a part of our story.